I saw he just posted on Instagram. Baby Byron.
Hey, this is Byron.
Hey Byron, how you doing? This is Robin Slim. You're quite the person, Baby Byron. Oh my God, just your whole story, man. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Oh man, thank you. I'm humbled. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I thank
also, before we even start, I want to thank you guys for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
Promote my music and tell my story.
Yeah, your story is just so intriguing, so amazing. For those who don't know, you were born 2 months prematurely, addicted to cocaine and heroin in '92, and your mother left you at the hospital. Correct?
No, not entirely, but that is the narrative. I'll actually let you tell the version, and I'll just fix whatever parts.
Okay. Cool. Yeah,
as you finish for whoever's listening.
Because there's a lot.
The general, yeah.
Slim read stories that had stuff that the stories I read didn't have. I saw that you were born 2 months prematurely, addicted to cocaine and heroin. Your mother left you at the hospital, and you were taken into care by a white couple who nursed you back to health. But then there was a major court case that said that black babies only go to black families. So then I saw that you were given to a black family.
I saw that you were given back to your mother. Right. It
was a back and forth from 92 to 1996, roughly, between the custody between myself and my foster family and my biological mother. But what ended up happening is I actually ended up getting adopted by somebody separate from all parties. So the people that adopted me are also African and African American, actually.
Okay.
My father, he's from Zimbabwe, and my mother, she's from Florida.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that after the white couple had you, I saw that you then went to a black couple.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you still have any contact with any of your biological mother or the white couple?
Yeah. I've got reintroduced to my biological mother when I was I believe 9 or 10 years old, roughly around that time, and I got reintroduced to my foster family not that long after that. Around that time too, around 9 or 10, and it was mostly because of the curiosity that I had that was going unanswered. My adopted father, who is, I acknowledge is my real father, but for context of the conversation, my adopted father, he seen the urgency that I needed to know some answers. Even though I was young, I wasn't a typical young kid. Like, this type of struggles I experienced wasn't typical for real. On the contrary to even that statement, being a crack baby or anything like that was actually very common, but being a crack baby involved in a interracial custody battle, that was the part that was, that was the phenomenon more so than the crack baby thing, I believe.
Yeah, why was that such an issue, though? I feel like in 92, I don't feel like that should have been such an issue. Is that still an issue?
No. With the interracial custody?
Yeah.
No. Surprisingly, I tell people this too. Around that time, I know interracial relationships was a thing before I was born.
Yes.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, that was interracial, whatever. But what I think was, if we're talking about on a legal, aspect of things, if we're talking about, coming into a new age, which is, even though interracial was a thing, but some things were still considered taboo. Like, why would you want to take care of a child that's not of your race?
Yeah.
Type, I guess.
Wow.
Hysteria that people was having, I guess.
Yeah.
People was having that as a kind of I remember the LA Times said that if they would have let them adopt me, it would have been cultural genocide. That's how passionate people felt. Like to say genocide.
Yeah.
That's that's
a strong term.
That's serious. That's very firm in their belief.
Yeah. Wow.
I was reading that it was African American social workers that were against you being with a white family because they feel like black babies need to be with black families because you need to learn about racism and culture and that culture and stuff like that.
It is true. Like, I feel like black parents would know what they face more than a white parent. I do agree with that, but I don't feel like it's got to be that way. I don't know.
Well, it's funny. When I think about it, I honestly just feel like like, for example, I'm actually having this conversation because when people think about it, before the Baby Byron case, there was no, like, there would be no Madonnas adopting black babies or Angelina. You know what I mean? This wouldn't be a thing. You know what I mean? This wasn't as considered a trend.
Yes.
Versus with this now, it's like it's like you get a black child as an accessory.
Yes.
And I'm not saying these people. I'm saying the narrative.
I do agree with that.
I'm saying the narrative now.
Yeah.
If that's what the narrative is.
Yeah.
So back then, honestly, I feel like if you wanted to do something like what my foster family was doing, it was from the genuineness of that, of that person's heart, at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there was no, like, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like I'm not saying people had better moral judgment skills back then, which I'm definitely not saying, but I'm saying it wasn't as trendy. Exploitation might have not been as trendy as it is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do totally agree with that. Yes, I do. I wanted to ask too, you mentioned being told that at that young of an age. Was that a lot to process? I feel like it would have been for anybody at any age, but you said you were like 10 years old, correct?
Yeah, around like 10. Yeah, like 9, 10. But, I always was aware of my past because you figure I got adopted at like 5 or 4 or 5. You know what I mean? So I got reintroduced to my biological mom around like 9. So there's like, you know what I mean? So I didn't have much of big gaps to have like a normal type transition. You know what I mean? It was like always immediate stops and then a new turn. It was always something, but it was always immediate. It wasn't like long periods of time where I had to like, learn to adjust to whatever it was. Like, for example, I didn't know being a crack baby was an insult until I was like 10, 11, because it was such a common, not just for me, not because it was just who I was and what people were saying in relation to what the news knew as me, but once again, a crack baby was a very common baby at the time.
Yeah, and also you had no control. You had no control over any of that.
So it was like, I didn't know if that was like an insult or not, like personally, you know what I mean, as a child, you know what I'm saying? But then when I got old enough and I actually got to see what a crackhead really was and like to acknowledge what it was, that's when it hit me. In the moment, it didn't bother me. Like a lot of this stuff probably didn't bother me because people still got to remember, I'm still a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So certain things, and people love to tell a story that they act like they remember everything bad that happened to them or good that happened to them. People love to lead a conversation with that, but I don't want to lead a conversation in a lie. So what I would say is, at the moment, no, I can't honestly tell you, do I feel in the moment I was being affected, but later down the line, yes, I was affected with trying to understand who I was supposed to be. Was I supposed to be Byron, or was I supposed to be this other kid? Like, I was trying to figure out who I was supposed to be. And plus, my name got changed. Around like 5, they had to change my name because news kept following, and it was hard for me to try to find some normalcy after the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because people got to remember, back then, when something was a part of the news, it lasted longer than it does now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's on to the next thing. Back then it was like...
like, people got to understand that. Like, now, if like, say, for example, like for now, like, if somebody died in the 90s, they'd be kind of memorialized a little bit better than somebody that died in 2014.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it comes and goes way faster. Like, now with people dying now, it's like I post a status or maybe not even dying. Let's not use that. Let's just say anything of now. We'll post something, and then the following month there's a whole new, or following day it's a new story, and we're all running with it.
It just feels like more like disposable nowadays. Back then, though,
information is more. Exactly. Information is more disposable. So if the country was all on one thing, that's what the whole country was on at the time.
Yes.
So people I gotta understand, when I'm a baby or a child, I'm still Baby Byron. Like, I'm still that person.
Yeah.
Like, especially back home, because this is where all the madness started. I didn't go far. It's not like I got to relocate far and be somebody else. I lived in the same city, and they just gave me a different name, but they put me in the same public schools that I had Byron. I was known as Byron as, and it was all the same. I mean, people grew to forget after of course, like anything else would happen, but I guess that's kind of the reason I'm here now. And it's not because I'm looking for reasons to gloat on my past or anything like that. What I really wanted to do, because I'm 27 now, right?
That's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Thanks. I'm 27 now, and when I think about it, I have 2 sons, by the way. I have 2 sons.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I highly appreciate it. And I think about it, right? Now, my relationship with my actual mom is the reason why I'm doing this too. Me being a parent, and then me being her son, is why I'm doing this. Because her version of the events is not what people know as. Meaning, like, when you asked me in the beginning of the conversation, did my mother leave me in the hospital, I feel like this is where I could segue into that now. There's a lot of things about the Baby Byron case that, and mind you, before I even go into it, I don't want to demonize nobody, and I don't want to glorify nobody, and I don't want to victimize myself or anybody else in the situation. I just want to give as a description of the events from my point of view, but also things that weren't mentioned. So, and I would like to start that with, my mother did not leave me in the hospital. What ended up happening was a part of, as you said in the beginning, I was a child with drugs in my system. And the protocol for CYF or CYS, whatever the name or brand, because I know it rebranded, from 90s to now, but in the time, the protocol was to help the mother, and in the process, do a temporal family, housing, where it goes to your family, close as a kin gets your child.
Yes. But they would take you.
That's usually the situation.
Yes.
Now, in short summary, because, I'd have to give away a lot of extra, like, side stories, but just to get to the point, they ignored and skipped over my family's efforts, like, to get me, before it even went that far.
Yeah.
With, the foster, like, they personally didn't try to even apply or even reach out to an aunt, an uncle, or anybody of that nature. They didn't try. The system didn't try. So that's for one. And then for two, my mother was promised if she was to get help, she would get supervised visits, and over a short period of time, she'd get me back after she completed her, necessary things.
Mm-hmm.
My mother went through everything that was asked of her. She went through the sojourner house, she even lived in quarters that they told her to live. She went through everything and then some.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is the fondness of my foster family grew very strong in the short amount of time that they had. And mind you, they at the time they only had one child, and they adopted others,
Yeah.
But they always wanted more children. So they put up a fight because they felt in their heart, not because my mother was a crackhead or anything like that, or anybody like that, or any situation like that. They just felt in their heart, and I mean this from my own, how I see it, that they genuinely felt that they could tend to me and raise me better. I'm not saying my mother couldn't. I'm not saying nobody else could.
Yeah.
But in their defense, they came from more of a sturdy stability. How their setup was a little bit better if you're looking on it on black and white paper.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, this is where he's from, and this is where you're gonna put him. I don't see who would want to argue this.
Yeah.
Right. That was the thing. But the problem that what ended up happening is people think my mom gave me up. But my mom, if people really even listen to the contradiction of that statement, the custody battle lasted from 92 to 96. Wow. That's something that nobody mentions. That's a long time.
Yeah, that is.
That's a long time for anybody to argue over a child, you know what I'm saying, for me, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
So that's one part of the story that nobody wants to acknowledge. And then another part that people do not want to take into consideration is my mother made public appearances with our foster family, with her promoting her case and getting her, try to get people to support her. But at the time, media made my mother the kind of like the, instead of her being a young woman struggling on her you know, on her downside, just like anybody else in America, not black, but in general, everybody else in America was going through stuff too. It's not like a black thing too. It was like everybody was struggling type of time.
Yes.
And they made it seem as if my mother was literally incapable, if not just my mother, but people of my skin tone was incapable of raising, because we were all crackheads, we was all drug dealers, or that was the narrative the news was making. That's not the narrative my foster family had. That's why I said I wanted to take the time to break down the differences between what's being told and then what's actually what was happening.
Yes, because I feel like just you saying that wouldn't have gone on so long if your biological mother didn't care, if she didn't try.
Yeah, it wouldn't go on that long.
No, absolutely not.
That's a long time.
Yeah, wow. Well, Byron, I wanted to say...
Like I said, nobody even thinks about that.
No, definitely not. And once you said it, it makes all the sense in the world. Like,
it definitely does. And like reading the articles that I've read, it does, because I've read articles that were written from like 95, and it kind of does paint your mother as the bad guy and this other family that adopted you as like the heroes. But in reality, that's not really how things went down.
And it's sad. You know, the real sad part is that I feel people really don't really get from that is the Baby Byron case. Nobody won, meaning like nobody left with something. Everybody took a loss.
Yes.
That's something that's one of the most universally like overlooked parts of the Baby Byron story, or losing Isaiah, or whatever. That's the part nobody realizes, that my foster family didn't win. They didn't get the child that they thought that they could help, because the system was on some other stuff, you know, and some of the measures that my foster family took were desperate. You know what I'm saying? They were very desperate. I don't feel like they needed money, because they came from money or not came from money, but they had money better than what my mother had. You know what I mean? Not saying that's not a reason. Like, you could always have greed, but my point is that they're not a money oriented people. Like, and I only know this because I met them. And I got to deal with them. Right. To say that if I knew they were money hungry, there would have been plenty of opportunities. They would have tried to sell me a partnership with some, because movie producers hit them up over the years.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I was also wondering, if there was anything
People
like that.
hit them up over the years, and me over the years, right? But never have they ever tried to compromise or try to open up that can of worms again.
Yeah.
Because once again, if back then was a very opinionated, then now it would be even worse. You know what I mean? So it's like, so I get why they wouldn't want to be a part of something like this.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I get it, because you've been through it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you lost. All of you lost.
Yeah.
So to revisit the story is more so like peeling up that, taking off more wounds. I read articles about what you said, about my mom. That was very harsh.
Yeah. Damn. Byron, I wanted to say too, we are a little limited on time, but I wanted to say your group, A Kid Called Gauwd, I haven't even heard of them until a few nights ago when I was doing guest prep, and dude, it is some good stuff. And you started it with a friend, correct?
Yeah. I started with Ashe Sneffer, who's a friend of mine since actually elementary school, and we've been doing music probably since I've known him since 98, but we've been making music probably since 2016. Yeah, 2016 officially. Cool. But he's been making music before me, years before that. But, as far as our inception, 2016, and we released our first project, which was called All Thanks to Drugz. That happened in January 2017. And the reason for the title at the time, and so it kind of ties into my life in general. But the title, All Thanks to Drugz, people might automatically assume for negative reasons.
Yeah.
But in reality, I have no drug offenses on my record, right? So I'm not a rapper that could say I was a drug dealer. I'm not a rapper that could do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not right? So I wouldn't try to sell that narrative.
Yes.
But what it is that I could say is, my life, whether good, bad, or indifferent, started from a bad. It started off on a bad foot, but ended on a good note.
Yes.
So I can honestly say, all thanks to Drugz, my life turned out the way it did, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes.
So it was the same kind of concept for when we came together on music, because it's like he's a pothead, I'm a pothead too. All these different ideas come together at different time periods, but usually it's all thanks to Drugz. So I just feel like that title made sense, and then we just kept up the titles. We just did Drugz Demoed and all these other types of drugs mixtapes after that.
I love something like that too that has different meanings. Like that is super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like an entendre.
A
flip on what it could mean. Or analogy or whatever. However the words be.
So before we wrap it up, can you tell us a little bit about your solo album that is coming out next month?
Oh man, that's another thing. The album Drugz Before The Flight, it comes out April 20th, and I'm very particularly proud of this project. And mind you, it might not be my official solo project, but it is a project that I took the lead in producing, and I'm actually probably on majority of the songs. So that's probably why people could be like, oh, it might be a solo project, but in reality, it's still a Kid Called Gauwd.
Okay.
But but if anything, I'm gonna steal the spotlight for this project. He don't mind. He don't care. All thanks to Drugz is what started it. But this project that's coming out is a Drugz Before The Flight that's coming out April 20th next month.
Cool. Where will that be available? Like everywhere, like iTunes?
Oh yeah. It should be available everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, YouTube, etc. I'll be dropping the first music video from the song on April 4th, and the song's called Cash App. That's the first song. It's not a single. It's just one of the songs off of the project that I'm using to help promote the album.
It's called Cash Out?
So the video will be out on April 4th.
You said Cash Out, correct?
Yeah, Cash App, yep.
Okay.
I watched a couple of your previous music videos, too. They're amazing. I love them. I love how they're shot. I love just the scenery and everything. Like, really, really well done. But this, your album that's coming out on April 20th, Drugz Before The Flight, I had read that that's kind of like what you want to tell the people about your story. Is that true?
Yeah, in semi parts, actually, that's another question I actually never got. That's how I'm actually having you actually asked me that. I'll keep it as short as simple. When people make music, and when I make music, like say for example, like when 50 Cent got shot like 9 times, that was like the premise of like a whole album. For real. I was like, you know what I mean? And I love 50. I ain't trying to mix it up. I love 50, but I know that was like the general theme behind that project.
Yeah.
Now with me, if I got shot 9 times, there's a good chance I would never mention it. Like musically, I might not ever mention it, only because I don't want to revisit no trauma like that. But that's just me, though. You know what I mean? If anything, I'd rather be the dude talking about shooting somebody. I don't want to be the one shot. So, with that being said, I look at what people expect a certain. Because let's be real, my life story isn't quite the most nicest. It's hard to to really whatever. But what I actually do is actually channel time periods in my life, and I put it into the energy of the music, versus me putting the actual lyric content that could be like too reflective for me. But that's just me, because people gotta understand I gotta perform the song.
Yeah.
You know, I got to be the one to, like, you know, to sell you them with genuine, you know, appreciation for it and no disdainment. And I don't want to give nobody nothing that I'm in no part of my life personally am particularly proud of. So that's why I would say, you know, with this album, you could expect only the highlights of my life. Cool. Expect that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I can say for that.
That's awesome. Byron, thank you so much for talking to us. It's been an amazing time, man.
Thank you, man. Once again, Robinson, I really appreciate y'all taking the time out. You know, for anybody that's listening, you could follow me at Instagram. That's at Kid Gauwd, and that's Gauwd. I'm not that blasphemous. Please don't be mad at me on that level. It's a Kid Called Gauwd on YouTube, you know, anywhere else in the World Wide Web. And once again, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. Thank you, man. We will definitely talk soon.
Man, stay in touch.
Absolutely, man. Have a good one.